going to apologize for the wind noise ahead of time, but y'all, I am so excited. This is the first time since I bought that rooftop tent that I've actually been able to camp in. I've had that thing for almost 2 years. It's been on top of the Suburban for at least 20 months of those 24. And just because of life circumstances and things that just happen, I've never actually been able to camp in the thing. I've had it up one time and went up there when I first got it. But oddly enough, you know, I can camp inside the Suburban. So the few times that I have done some camping, I've just slept in the back of the Suburban. But I want you to see this. So this is my kitchen area. Now that platform, I can push it the other way and it makes into a full-size bed inside the Suburban. This is my kitchen area. I've got an inverter with some batteries. And then I just ran an extension cord back here to the back. So I've got power to run my blender, run whatever little thing I want. This compartment here is for this water tank. It fits in there perfectly. That gives me 6 gallons of water. And then I leave that little fan on. It helps keep the flies down. I've got that stove. I also have a 2-burner stove that's inside this drawer here that allows me to cook more meals or bigger things if I want to. And then, so for the tent, you know, it's a silver wing tent. It came with this ladder. I mean, it's cool. You know, it's spacious. You can sleep 2 people in here comfortably. I will tell you, like I said, I barely used this thing. It's only been the top's only been up once. So after sitting for 2 years, the struts gave out. There's little struts inside of this, inside of these holders right here. Inside of these, where's the zipper? Right here. They're like the ones that are on a hatchback or something on a car. Anyway, they stopped working. Now the one on this side actually kind of got its umph back, so I'm not having to use that board, but I had to prop some boards up on the back end for it. And it's got screens to all zip down, and it's got some pockets. You know, so I got a board propping that end up. But very roomy, very comfortable. It's got some kind of memory foam mattress. It's about, 2.5 inches thick, but it's just firm enough that it's enough. Like it was plenty comfortable sleeping up here. I've been in it for about 3 days. I went out and did a job, and this became a perfect spot to be able to camp with the Suburban. So, you know, you don't have to go overly complicated with trying to put power in your rig. That's a 1500 watt inverter from Harbor Freight. I can run most things that I need to run. It's got USB ports on the front. Yes, it's not pure sine wave, but I've run modified sine wave inverters on most things for years. And keep in mind that if you have a UPS backing up your computer at home, or most of the ones in server racks that aren't lithium, they're all, up until probably 3 years ago, they were all modified sine wave inverters. So all of those expensive UPSs that are generally powering and backing up most of those sensitive computer equipment in racks, modified sine wave. So, you know, but if you've got to have it, you know, you can spend $300 or you can spend $130. That's up to you. But I've got these extension cords. You saw where one goes in the back. In here with 3 outlets on it, and that's a 12 gauge extension cord, so easily handles the load. And then I've got a second extension cord. That second one comes out right here behind the rear seat. Right there. And that was funny. My razor kicking on in my bag. So it comes out there and it powers my 12-volt fridge freezer. So I drink a lot of smoothies. I got my frozen berries in there. Notice those two ice packs down at the bottom. What those are for is this little cooler here. This was a soft-sided cooler that I lined with 1/2-inch rigid foam, which allows it stuff to stay cold about 3 days, but it's still super light. And so I freeze 2 of those and then put 2 of them in the bottom of this. That keeps things nice and cold, and then every other day I swap them out, refreeze them in the freezer, stick them back in there. I don't have to deal with the ice, the mess with ice, with the melted water and all that sort of stuff. Like, I just don't have to deal with that. And now I have a refrigerator where I can put all my refrigerated stuff, and I have a freezer where I can put all my freezer stuff. It does have a small compartment back here. When this is at freezing temperatures, this is refrigerator temperature, about 35 to 40 degrees. So if you've just got some cold cuts or some kind of thing that you want to put in there, you can. But I carry a lot of fruit with me, apples and bananas and all that sort of stuff. So this works better for my application. I don't have a solar panel on the roof of the Suburban. That's in the works. It's a plan that's coming up. It's going to happen. But what I do have, I've got a Group 24 lead acid battery. Yeah, I know. You can tell me all about lithium. I love lithium. Lithium is great. And I'm in an area where it gets -40. And so having a battery sitting under the hood of my truck or even inside the Suburban is just not feasible with the dangers of hurting those batteries. Even with all of the battery protection, anything in it, it's just not worth the hassle to have to worry about that. So what I've got here, this is my main positive going into the inverter. I've got a 250 amp mega fuse on that. This runs over, and I'll show you in a second, to a isolator where I can get charged off the battery. And then this is my main ground. This is just a pigtail off of that ground, so I wired it here. This is the ground for my LED lights right here. And then that's the positive for those LED lights. So that's my auxiliary battery. Come over here. This is a solid state battery isolator. This is input, and I know what you're thinking, why is everything wired together? Well, I'll get to that. This is input from the alternator, and this is output to 2 batteries. That's my starting battery. Well, what I've realized once hooking this thing up, if I put 1 battery here and 1 battery here, it works the alternator hard. It drops the voltage on the volt gauge inside the car from 14 volts to about 11. And it's just losing efficiency running through the resistor. I guess it's not resistors, the diodes that are the solid state diodes that are inside this thing. If I'm wrong about saying it's I think it's a diode. If I'm wrong, correct me. This is an exciter wire from the ignition. So you turn the ignition on, that activates the solid state and does it. The second wire that's on here actually runs down to my oxygen, my O2 sensor. This is a TBI, and I added a 3-wire heated oxygen sensor. But that's other information that you guys don't really need to know. But anyway, so right now they're all wired together, so everything charges off the alternator. The alternator does not, this is a stock alternator. It has no problem charging a small 600 cold crank or 750 cold cranking hour. Try that again. It has no problem charging a 750 cold cranking amp battery and a Group 24 battery. This is not overdoing it with this. This battery will run that fridge all night. What I do is I don't let it run all the time. I get it down to that freezer down to about 5 degrees, and then I just turn off the freezer. And about every 4 hours, I might turn it back on during the day. And that way it's cycling, and it warms up to 20 degrees, right? Everything's still frozen. And so then I just turn it back on, and I balance that. I manage the load in order to make sure that I keep my system working optimally in the way that I want it to. But again, this is, those batteries, $100. Actually, I think that battery was 80 but they might be 90 now. The inverter's 100. I had a coupon when I bought that inverter, maybe $120. And then with all the wiring, I actually was gifted or blessed, you know, Father blessed me with most of the wiring cabling that I needed. But you could put an inverter like that and an extra battery, lead acid battery in your car, and have a good car setup where you've always got power, right? And if it's starting to get low, start your car. Sorry, got cut off. But what I was saying is, by the time you're done, you can have good power overnight, car camping, 2-3 days worth of power for, you know, $300 in your car. That's less than one of those portable battery, you know, lithium ion battery solar generators that you can buy. Man, it took me a while to find the words. So that's a lot less expensive, and you're going to have more capacity, more usability. You know, given the overall storage and what you can do with it. So again, you don't have to make it complicated. A fuse, you know, a battery, an inverter, plug it in, some extension cords. You got power all throughout your vehicle. If it's a van, a Suburban, you know, a car, a Tesla, whatever, you know, you've got what you need to make it happen. So anyway, that was a quick tour. It's been a while since the rig's been built and I've been able to use it, so I wanted everybody to see that. Have a great time. Well, how do I? Never mind.